Breaking news that's coming in. A trader's body has now written to Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal demanding an investigation into the role of Narayana Murthy into affairs of his company Cloudtail with Amazon. And this comes after Amazon documents had revealed how the company had a secret strategy in place to dodge India's regulators and to favor big sellers on its India platform, including Cloudtail. Amazon used them to maneuver around rules meant to protect the country's small retailers from getting crushed by e-commerce giants. Amazon had a strategy in place to ensure some of its big sellers continued to thrive. This meant that some of 35 Amazon's more than 4 lakh sellers in India accounted for 2/3 of its online sales. One of those companies is Cloudtail India, which is led by Narayana Murthy, and that's why the traders' body, the CAIT, has sought an investigation into the role of Narayana Murthy in the fact that Cloudtail was favored by Amazon. This is something that perhaps the government will have to look into, because there was a strategy in place, the documents of which we had told you here in India Today as well yesterday. It showed clearly that Amazon continued to favor some of its bigger sellers, including Cloudtail, about 35 sellers, and this was done to ensure that they can override the regulation that has been put in place in India to ensure that small retailers, local retailers, don't get crushed by these e-commerce giants. Let me take us across to Rajiv Dubey, Managing Editor of Business. Rajiv, good morning. Yesterday, you were giving us details about how Amazon's strategy is now out in the open to ensure that they could override the regulations put in place. Questions now being asked about Cloudtail as well, because that was one of the big sellers that thrived, that managed to make the most of Amazon's strategy. Now we're understanding that a trader body is written to the government seeking an inquiry into Narayana Murthy's role as well.
Well, Akshata, the Narayana Murthy's Catamaran Ventures is one of the investors, is the funder of Cloudtail, including Amazon. And as far as the regulations are concerned, the regulators have typically been 2 steps behind the companies. So instead of and companies have always been able to. They're basically chasing the violations or possible violations that they consider. But as far as Amazon is concerned, it has come out with a statement yesterday very clearly that they have no non-compliance, and which is a fact, because essentially what they have done is whenever regulators came up with a new rule, they complied with it. And as we were discussing yesterday, they have largely complied with the letter of the law, not necessarily with the spirit of the law. And so it will be hard to, it is in these circumstances that it's very hard to establish that the law has not been complied with. In this case as well, you will find that as soon as Government of India said that no more than 25% of a platform's sales can be by one company, they immediately complied with it. They created a new firm called Apparel Retail with Patni Computers founders. So it has been complied with the letter of the law, but may not necessarily with the spirit of the law.
And that means that they've done it very smartly. So even if we talk about some action or some crackdown, will be very, very difficult for really any sort of action or concrete steps to be taken. Rajiv, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. Let's move on now to another story we're tracking.